Welcome to our part 5th of ASP.NET Core MVC series, and our today's topic is partial view. A partial view is like a reusable component in UI. So instead of duplicating the same HTML across multiple view, we can extract it into a partial view and include it wherever we want. In simple term, a partial view is a view inside a view. Let's take an example to understand this in detail. So this screen consists of two different type of views. The first view consists of a customer detail and the second view consists of an employee detail. In both the views, I am basically creating a address detail section. And in simple terms, this address detail section displays the current address of a customer and employee respectively. Now, if I want to create a UI like this in MVC, I have to create an HTML for address detail inside my customer detail as well. And I have to create an HTML for same inside my employee detail also. This is not a recommended approach. Instead of this, we should be using a partial view. So in simple terms, we will be creating a partial view named as address partial, and then a customer detail and employee detail will refer those partial view. Let's quickly jump it to the Visual Studio and see this in action. So inside of Visual Studio, I am having a customer controller and that include a index method, and I'm having an employee controller as well that include a index method. Inside a customer view, inside the views folder, I'm having a customer folder and that include the index.cshtml from customer. Let me create a view for my employee as well. We discussed this that in order to create a view for a particular controller, I have to create a folder inside a view section, but there's a shortcut also. If you right click on this index, if you stop this application, and if you right click on this index and click on add view and click on razor view and give it the name, it will automatically create a folder inside your view section with the name of that action method. So this is a nice and handy shortcut provided to us by Visual Studio where I can quickly create a view inside my views folder. Now let's jump back again to the concept of partial view. Now as per this diagram, I have to display a address detail in both the section. So what I can do, I can create a partial view named as address partial. One thing which you have to notice is that if you are planning to use a partial view across different folders or across different controller, then you have to put this partial view inside a shared folder. So we will write it down simple way that underscore address dot cshtml. Normally a partial view are started, we start this naming convention from an underscore, but there is no compulsion. We can name it whatever I want. As of now, I am only rendering a static content and let's say the content says address view loaded. Let's make it address partial view loaded. Now, if I want to display the content of address partial view inside my employee view as well as customer view, I have to navigate back to this view. I have to use a keyword name as partial followed by name, and inside the name I need to give a reference of that view model of that view itself, and it should be address, and that's it. The same line need to be repeat again in my employee section. So I will repeat this line as partial over here and also include an h1 tag which says employee view loaded. Now let's run this code and see the output in detail. So when I run the application, it will first load my customer view, and in the same time my address partial view is also loaded, and this address partial view is coming from this address partial. In a similar way, if I go to my employee index by entering employee followed by index, and if I press enter, I'll get a similar output. So my employee view is coming from the main part, which is my this case, and this partial view is rendering the content. So partial view are quite handy whenever you want to reuse the component across multiple HTML in an MVC application. While creating a partial view, you have to keep in mind few things. If you are planning to create a partial view that can be used across multiple controller, you have to place it inside the shared folder. Because the way MVC works, it will first look at the partial view inside the root folder, and then it will find the partial view inside the shared folder. Let me show this thing in detail. So what I'll do right now is I will cut this partial view from a shared location and I will put it inside my employee folder. I will not make any other changes in my code, and let me run this application again. So if I again run this application, you can see my customer view is loaded because the customer view is loading a partial view from an index.html, and I think it is taking a reference from a cache. Let me rebuild my entire code and then run it again. So once I again run this, you can see I have started getting an error message. Because I have not included any partial view inside my customer folder and I have also removed it from a shared folder, when I try to load a partial view address while loading a customer, the partial view is searched at two different locations. The first preference is inside my customer folder and the second preference is inside my shared folder. And if the relevant view is not available in both the location, then MVC throws an error. You will not get the same error while loading an employee view because in my employee folder, I already have a partial view. Okay. So in simple terms, you can say that if you are planning to create a partial view for multiple controller, put them inside a shared folder. And if you are planning to use a partial view for a single controller, then you can put it inside a single folder itself. So it totally depends upon the business use case. Now let's assume that if I am having a partial view both at shared location as well as individual location. So let me just do some modification in the text itself. So in the employee partial view, I will mark a text as employee view, and in the shared partial view, I will append a text called as shared view so that you will understand from where this view is coming. And if I again run the application, so first time it will load my customer controller and you can see a customer controller is coming from my shared location. Why? Because I don't have any partial view inside my customer folder and hence it is picking up from a shared folder. If I run the same code for an employee section, employee index, and you can see it is not coming from a shared view, it is coming from a root folder itself. So if you have a same naming convention of partial view at both the location, the first preference is always the root folder and post that it will start looking into a shared folder. Partial views are again divided into two more categories and they are called as static partial view and a dynamic partial view. A static partial view in simple terms are a standard view like this one. So I am not supposed to pass any model inside this. Wherever you want to load a static content, then you can use a static partial view. They are simple, they are easy to use, and they does not require any kind of complex mapping. But if you want to have something more generic, if you want to pass data from a different models, then you should not be creating this kind of standard partial view. In that case, we should be using a separate technique provided to us by an MVC, and they are called as dynamic partial view, and they are also termed as view component. So view component is useful for rendering the content dynamically in an ASP.NET Core MVC section. We will discuss the concept of view component in the next section. Thank you.